Good morning, Wabash. Today, speaking in Senior Chapel, we have Nguyen, Riley Lefever, Boyd Haley, and Rodrigo Porras. Speaking first is Nguyen, giving his talk titled Chao Wabash. Tu is from Hanoi, Vietnam, and is a math major and a computer science minor. On campus, Tu is a brother of Kappa Sigma, is involved with the Glee Club, and is a member of the Sinks Club. After graduation, Tu is going to attend Tarleton State University in Texas to work towards a master's in mathematical data mining. Next speaking is Riley Lefever, giving his talk titled The Four-Step Guide to Greatness. Riley hails from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and is a graduate of Carroll High School. Riley is a senior head RA at Rogie Hall, a member of Wabash's wrestling team, and is active within the War Council. Next speaking is Boyd Haley, giving his talk titled Wabash is not and should not be a safe space. Boyd is a senior economics major and a classics minor, hailing from Monroe County, Indiana. Outside of the classroom, Boyd is a brother of Phi Kappa Psi, an avid woodworker, and a fourth-generation licensed auctioneer. He can often be found fishing and hunting in his free time. And finally speaking is Rodrigo Porras, giving his talk titled Juventud, Divino, Tesoro. Born and raised in the border town of El Paso, Texas, Rodrigo is a financial math major and a French minor. During his 4 years, Rodrigo has been a part of the Kappa Sigma fraternity, the Sphinx Club, and was also the captain of the soccer team. He studied abroad in Toledo, Spain during his spring semester of his junior year and cannot wait to go back one day. After commencement, Rodrigo will be working for a Piro in downtown Indy, even though he hates the cold. These seniors will speak in succession and without further introduction, so please welcome Nguyen.
Xin chào Wabash. Con chào bố, con chào mẹ. Hôm nay xin cảm ơn bố mẹ vì nuôi dưỡng và ủng hộ con trong những năm qua. Cảm ơn các ông vì đã phù hộ độ trì cho con. Cảm ơn các bà vì đã luôn luôn cầu nguyện cho con những điều tốt đẹp nhất. Cảm ơn chị Bích vì đã luôn luôn chăm sóc và nghĩ tới em. Cảm ơn anh Tùng và Tuấn Anh vì đã giúp đỡ em. Good morning, Wabash. Those are the words to my family in Vietnam, Australia, and America. They have been my greatest supporter. Thank you, Sphinx Club, for giving me the honor to speak today. Thank you, Wabash, for believing in me. In this talk, I will give a guide on how to be a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and an alumnus at Wabash. For each year, I will start with a prayer, then I will talk about the advice. So for the freshmen, when the thought of war comes, oppose it by a stronger thought of peace. A thought of hatred must be destroyed by a more powerful thought of love. Thought of war brings destruction to all harmony, well-being, restfulness, and content. Abdul Baha. Wabash is a place where your ideas will be openly challenged by others. Wabash may be the first place where you have to constantly face with opposite opinions and difficult situations, or even when you might be agitated to fight. However, fighting is not always the best option. Fighting and confrontation might lead you toward the path of prejudice and misunderstanding. So my advice to you, freshmen, is to listen. Try to understand others. Look at things in different angle and perspective. Always try your best to avoid thought of hatred toward others who are different from you. Now for the sophomore. O man of two visions, close one eye and open the other. Close the one to the world and all that is therein, and open the other to the hollow beauty of the beloved. Baha'u'llah. Sophomore year was one of my busiest years at Wabash. Since I was just decided to pursue the 3-2 engineering program at Wabash, I had to catch up. So I took 5 classes, including Physics 111, which is one of the most time-consuming classes at Wabash. On the second semester, I became a Ryan. I barely had any free time for myself. Thinking back, I regret that I always used the excuses of being busy to avoid participating in events or contributing to the community around me. So for the sophomore, let's be active on campus. Join a club such as Glee Club, Sphinx Club, or College Mentor for Kids. Go to chapel, be involved. Try as hard as you can to sometimes close the eyes on being busy and worrying. Open the other eyes to contributing to the beauty of Wabash and the Crawfordsville community. For the junior, the steed of this valley is patient. Without patience, the wayfarer on this journey will reach nowhere and attain no goal. Nor should he ever be downhearted. If he strive for 100,000 years and yet fail to behold the beauty of the friend, he should not falter. The quote above was from 7 Valleys and 4 Valleys, written by Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. The thing I love the most about these quotes is that it talks about being actively patient. In particular, the kind of patience described in this quote is not an inactive kind of patience where you just wait around. Instead, it is a kind of patience where you persist, where you are actively working toward your goal day by day. You are striving to your goal despite of any struggle. So for the junior, always be patient. Keep doing what you do, and you will reach your goal. Wabash always fights. For the senior, a lover is he who is chill in the hellfire. A knower is he who is dry in the sea. Persian mystic poem. Being a senior is scary. It is a kind of scary when you're skiing fast down a snowy mountain, that you are speeding faster and faster. There's no way to stop and go back to the top of the mountain again. 4 years at Wabash is fleeting by very quickly. A lot of us are scared, but we are also excited about the journey ahead of us. We will be free for the first time in our life. After graduation, we're choosing our own path, and we're about to be in the real world. My advice to you is to be calm. I strongly believe that what we have learned at Wabash will help us chill in the hellfire. It will help us make smart decisions and moving toward the goal that we desire. The Wabash Mafia will always try their best to help us in this journey. And now finally, to the graduate, the alumni. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. There will I be by Craig Coney. Even though you have graduated, the spirit of Wabash will always be with you, helping you with every step in the real world. So please remember that and give back to the college. Come back and help students on their journey at Wabash. Donate money to the college so that we can give out more scholarship, immersion trip. Try your best to honor the Scarlet Collar. Thank you.
Hello, Wabash. I'd first like to thank the Sphinx Club for reaching out and giving me this opportunity. It's an honor to be able to give a chapel talk and speak at senior chapel alongside 3 of my well-accomplished classmates. And to be honest, I was very hesitant to reply to the offer because I know how intimidating public speaking can be, and especially speaking at chapel, a long-standing tradition in Wabash history. So, how did I get here and end up where I am today? I came from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and went to a pretty big high school called Carroll High School on the outskirts of Fort Wayne. For me, deciding to be a little giant was a pretty easy decision. I mean, first of all, I had a girlfriend, So coming to an all-male liberal arts college wasn't too intimidating in that aspect. And in August, we're getting married, so I guess you could say that worked out pretty well. Thank you. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I never really had to worry about the busload of girls coming in every weekend that I would always hear on my recruiting trips. Other than that, the single biggest deciding factor that came into play was that my two brothers, Connor and Reese, decided to come to Wabash. You see, all three of us found out about Wabash through Coach Anderson's Wabash wrestling camp, where roughly 700 wrestlers come around from all ages, all across the nation, and learn technique from Olympic gold medalists and get to compete in duels against each other. So I first stepped onto Wabash campus as a freshman in high school as a terrible wrestler attending this camp. To put in perspective, I was 11 and 18 my freshman year of high school at 125 pounds, and I had 5 forfeits. So really, I only won 6 matches. Frankly, I believe the only reason Coach Anderson talked to me that year is because he really wanted my two brothers to go there, definitely not because of me. But I found my passion for the sport soon thereafter, and it's been a great ride since then. After my brothers began wrestling for Coach Anderson and Coach Irwin, I knew that this was a place for me because I always did what my brothers did and tried to emulate them as a wrestler. And I always did a little better too. Well, at least I can say that now. It's easy to reflect on my 4 years at Wabash, and obviously winning the national championship is something I'll never forget. But beyond that, I'm most proud of the team effort our wrestling team committed to each year and the accomplishments we came away with together. I know the senior class of wrestlers holds a lot of pride in learning and leading the new era of success in Wabash wrestling program. And there's no doubt that we stepped up and helped not only accomplish things on the mat and academically, but I believe we helped change the campus's attitude towards wrestlers as well. You know, we're not just short, bulky athletes who like to fight. And even if some of us are, Wabash has allowed us to become more than that. Although I am obviously biased, and I know the ins and outs of the program and the students athletes involved in it, my brothers, the Wabash wrestlers, are truly a different breed. It is a feat in and of itself to make it 4 years without wavering from a commitment once made as a freshman to be part of a team, because many don't survive. I mean, this year we had 9 wrestlers graduating our senior class, and next year we only have 2. So it's a testament to those guys who have made it all 4 years. My point being that the commitment to Wabash wrestling is very, very hard. We hold ourselves to the highest goals on the mat, but our coaches hold us accountable, as well as our professors, our teammates and upperclassmen, and our academics. Each of my 4 years here, we stayed in the top 30 in the nation academically, but more importantly, we also strive to get involved on campus and look forward to the challenge of taking on more leadership roles, because great wrestlers love a challenge. It was easy for me to look to the upperclassmen as precedent. 2 of the most inspirational Wabash men I've ever had the privilege of wrestling alongside were Jimmy LaRoe, graduate in 2014, and Ethan Farmer, graduate last year. Most of you might not know Jimmy, but those who do are blessed to have. Jimmy had a car accident his freshman year at Wabash and was in a coma for a short time. He was told he could never wrestle again. But he rebounded in his own fashion like he always does, and the Wabash community stepped up to allow it to happen. Throughout his countless surgeries, he took extra classes and met with the generous and willing professors who helped him stay on track. Despite being told to stay away from the sport, once he gained back his strength, he was in the room encouraging us and even drilling with us every day. A moment I will never forget is Jimmy's return back to the mats my freshman year. In his second match of the day, he was wrestling with the rebuilt body that he worked for relentlessly. He double-legged and picked up his opponent so high, I thought he was going to take his opponent through the mat and through the wood floor in the Allen Center. Eventually, Jimmy pinned his opponent, even separating a couple ribs in his process. That is the type of guy Jimmy is. Nothing was impossible for him, and nothing is impossible for him today. And overcoming obstacles was an everyday occurrence for him. Today, he's dominated his current opponent, Occupational Therapy School. Everyone knew Jimmy on campus, and his attitude was infectious. He always competed the hardest and gave everything he could, gave everything he did his max effort. In those ways, he inspired me to always give it my all, no matter the circumstance. He was and is still a definition of a Wabash man, because he highlighted the spirit of Wabash always fights. Ethan Farmer, class of 2016, also had the infectious attitude of Jimmy, but he had a different everlasting effect on me. You see, Ethan was involved in everything, and he is the sole reason I decided to challenge myself to get involved in so many things on campus. He was a leader of War Council, a 3-year RA, the head RA, a wrestling captain, and the smartest heck student athlete who's now in med school. And to cap it all off, he was a 3-time Scholar All-American for the wrestling team, a 2-time national qualifier, and an All-American at 165 pounds. He was a true team player and never shied to throw a beating my way every once in a while. Ethan and Jimmy really set examples for how to be Wabash men for the team, myself and our class, and especially those who had the privilege of knowing them, even beyond wrestling. So, my advice to others, and the example I try to set to others, is the following. Find something you have a passion for. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, and then commit to it. Work hard for it, and be consistent in your work. I like to think of it as a 4-step system, a system that is built upon and consists of commitment, effort, sacrifice, and having fun. The first step is commitment. Obviously, committing to something is the first step, but to really commit to something takes guts and a certain amount of integrity. Don't settle for mediocrity either. I always set my goals high because it is in the nature of a competitor to be the best. Coming to Wabash, I didn't set my goals to be a 4-time national champion or be undefeated because at Wabash, everyone is competitive. There becomes new standards, and because every Wabash man is great, it becomes easy to fall into a system of just doing what your fellow students do. But even in the most competitive atmospheres, you have to strive to be great. But I also didn't want to focus on accolades, because if I did that, my focus would shift from improvement towards material things that would inevitably disappear. That is why I emulated the best wrestlers, the most driven people, and the professors here at Wabash. I focused on effort, competing hard, and improving. This brings me to my second point, effort. By spending time with those best athletes, much like we spend the time in our classroom with some of the best teachers the world has to offer, we begin to understand the mentality and effort it takes to be great. The best wrestlers in the world weren't just setting the goals to make world teams, Olympic teams, or reach the pinnacle of my sport, the Olympic gold medal. Rather, the best wrestlers were always focusing on the effort they could put in each and every day, each and every workout, and on things that they can control. Our effort is surely something we can control. They also focused on progression and improvement. I knew if I came into every single practice or workout ready to give my best effort and focus on improving my abilities, I could achieve my goals and I would have the highest confidence in myself every time I stepped on the mat. And when my mind drifted from those things, my wrestling showed it. This is another reason why wrestling is so special. You see, it is an individual sport, but if each competitor does their job on the mat, the team aspect takes care of itself. I knew if I trained my hardest, pushed my teammates by always competing, we could achieve national success and moreover create an atmosphere that breeds success. Now this sounds all quite dandy and easy to do, but the third way always has a way of keeping you level-headed and humbling you, sacrifice. Just like many Wabash men give up things state colleges have to offer, like women, in order to achieve their goals, one must be willing to find the finer balance in life and juggling their duties. At Wabash, a lot of students think that they need to do everything, participate in everything, join every club, you get the idea. And as a result, they end up being mediocre at these things versus doing what they want to the best of their ability. I gave up a lot of things throughout my career as a Wabash wrestler, especially in my first couple years. All I really did was wrestle and go to class. I had laser focus on my goals. I didn't party or go out much at all, and I really hung out with just wrestlers. As I began to find the finer balance during my time here, I began to get involved in more things while still being able to give those things all my effort. Beyond that, I gave up little things just to focus on my goals. Last year during National Act, the Olympic trials for wrestling was going on, so I missed the concert so I could watch and study the wrestlers. While most of my friends and the whole campus that were getting ready, I was doing that. That's just one example of how, and I know my close friends probably think I was crazy for half the stuff I did when I could have been traveling or hanging out with them, but instead, I was working out or something like that. But I always knew that I had the opportunity in front of me to not only wrestle and create a name for myself on the mat, but to get a great education and set myself up for life after wrestling. To me, it seemed normal. I also knew that I wanted to continue to wrestle as long as I could, and thankfully, in part of the sacrifices I've made to my time here at Wabash, I have an opportunity to make a living training for wrestling, which is crazy. My point being is that sacrifice is to ultimately find the finer balance in things that you truly enjoy and not to submerge yourself in everything just because. Ultimately, I was able to reach a finer balance in campus involvement beyond just wrestling. The last and most important step in this guide is to remember to have fun. And I remember what I talked about, commitment, effort, and sacrifice. I never really mentioned having fun, nor did training, working out by myself, or missing those sorts of things sound fun at all to the average college student. But one of the first things I had to do was commit to something I was passionate about. And to me, that was wrestling, and is wrestling. I had fun doing all those things. While I thoroughly enjoyed committing, giving my all, improving, and sacrificing then, I thoroughly enjoy it now, especially being able to reap the rewards what I worked for. There's so much pleasure and sense of satisfaction from being able to reap what you've sown. With that being said, make sure you do all those things while still remaining humble, keeping a kind and light heart and a good sense of humor. It's important to keep the mood light in the classroom or the practice, so one-liner jokes are always welcome, and I try my best to do that. Much of what we do at Wabash is serious and stressful. Being at ease is important, and humor helps. I like to have fun, but I also love to compete hard, improve, and win. And that's a different kind of fun altogether. And if you can focus your mind right on those four things, success and happiness will find you. Above everything else, be grateful. When I really look back at the opportunities presented in front of me here at Wabash and my living situation, all I really had to do was be willing to work hard and then do it. Every other thing in this environment here at Wabash allowed me to have the success I did. I have a great support system in my friends, family, my wonderful fiance, and the great faculty, staff, and alumni of Wabash. I'm beyond grateful for all of them. Because when you look at it, not a lot of people get to attend our college, do the things we do, enjoy our brotherhood, and compete against each other in almost every fashion. I'm grateful for what Wabash has done for me. Thank you.
Auctioneer, got to test it. First off, let me thank you all for coming today. Thank you to the Sphinx Club for this great opportunity. I'm very proud to be up here and speaking among these great men in a time-honored tradition. So as many of you have seen the email, the title of my speech, Wabash is not and should not be a safe place. I'm going to take a little pause and let some people get triggered. And now that a sufficient amount of people are triggered, allow me to elaborate on what I mean by that. When I say a safe space, I mean a place where people can feel safe and not be judged, and they can have their own ideas that don't get questioned. In theory, that's great. Let's all find our safe place and just stay there. I mean, it's safe after all, but that's not Wabash. This is a college that I came to, and that is not this college. This college is meant to challenge you every day on everything you believe. I love the opportunities that this college has given to me, and I don't claim to be the smartest man in the room. There's a lot of things that I don't know, and I will never know. But I can tell you that I didn't get to be the man I am today by staying in my safe space. So my goal here today in this speech is to leave Wabash as a better place than when I found it. I want you as Wabash men of future generations to set an example for other educational facilities, that argument and disagreement doesn't have to be polarizing. We can come together. That's part of what makes you Wabash, is the ability to see the other side and find that common ground. And from that common ground, we grow as a community of brothers, of people that we are involved with, fraternity members, club organizers. As anyone who knows me knows that I have a lot of stories, and I will tell them all the time. And for people who've been subjected to them, they don't really understand that what I'm trying to impart is a life lesson that I've learned through my experiences. Part of the reason they're subjected to them is because sometimes they're not very clear, and I have a tendency to ramble. So I've got a little quick story for you about a fight with one of my pledge brothers my freshman year. It was Friday night, and we were all having a lot of fun. And I don't remember exactly how it came, but a pledge brother and I got into an argument. And the next thing I know, I have been punched in the face. and we're on the ground, and my high school wrestling experience kicked in. And the situation was resolved right there. But I had to think about this. So I got up, I went to bed. That's the most logical thing to do. Go to bed. And I get up the next day, and everybody's like, oh, dude, you got to fight him back. You got to fight him back. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this is the right answer. So I did what every man should do when you're confused. I called my dad. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, explain the situation. What should I do? And he's like, well, how often do you have to see this guy? And I said, well, he's one of my pledge brothers. I see him every day. He's like, do you want a continued lasting relationship with this man? As in like a brotherly sense. And I said, yeah, I mean, he's one of my pledge brothers. I need to deal with this. And he said, here's what I'd say. Talk to him, talk it out. If you can't resolve anything from that, be the one who ends it. What I learned from this is that you can even find common ground and develop a relationship even after an event like that. To this day, he's one of my best friends, and it's because we dealt with it like men. At a state school or at some place where that kind of atmosphere isn't encouraged, one or both of us may be facing some sort of punishment instead of fixing our problems. But at Wabash, we take our life experiences and we learn from them and we grow into be better people. Conflict and tension shape us. Because let's face it, when you get into the real world, as many of us as seniors are getting ready to go into, the real world doesn't care about you. The real world couldn't give anything less about you. I'm avoiding profanity. Out there in the real world, you can find a safe place where you feel welcome, but eventually you have to enter back into the real world, and it's going to hit you in the face and make you defend every idea you've ever had. And that's why I love Wabash. I love Wabash because in every class, every day, I've had to think at least to some level about my place in the world and where I fit into my community. I've had my ideas challenged, and I've had to defend them every day of my Wabash career. And I have a firm grasp on what I believe and what I don't. So I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, where IU is. And of my 360-person graduating class from high school, I would say a solid 250 of them went to IU. Most of my friends went to IU. And I love going home and seeing my friends, as many of you probably do. But over the years, while I've been at Wabash and they've been at IU, I've noticed something. As a man, as a Wabash man, I have progressed and developed my ideas on what I believe, while they have not changed since they were in high school. They have become more entrenched in what they believe because they have not been challenged or forced to leave their comfort zone. A safe place, if you want to call it, does not help you grow as a man or as a woman. They have not changed since high school, while I have developed into a man that I am proud to go out into the world and say, I'm a Wabash man. Earlier on this year, I'll pause. Earlier on this year, Jack Kellerman talked about walking on eggshells and how the culture of Wabash has changed. I've seen this. I think it's because we've all retreated back into our safe places and we refuse to be challenged. We don't want to offend anyone or be offended ourselves. That is inherently not Wabash. I would rather have a heated discussion at Wabash where I know at the end of the day that's my brother I'm talking to than out in the real world where I don't necessarily know that person. Have the discussions here that allow you to grow as a man, to go out into that real world and be better people. These are men that I deal with every day, and I know they're good people. So as we move forward with our Wabash careers, many of you are underclassmen, some of us are seniors. I want Wabash to keep changing lives. I came here because my best friend's dad was a Wabash alum, and he took me to the college fair, 50 colleges that changed lives, grabs me by the shoulder, walks me over to the booth and says, Boyd, you need to talk to Wabash. I want us to keep changing lives like that. I want to keep the traditions that we hold so dear. I want Wabash to keep teaching men to think critically, act responsibly, lead effectively, and live humanely. And I can see no place in the future of this institution where safe places cause people's ideas to go unchallenged. Because through friction, you get heat. Through heat, you get fire. And let's light the fire underneath all of us as Wabash men. Thank you.
How am I supposed to follow that, you know? Jesus. I never took a rhetoric class. Jesus, come on. Buenos dias, Wabash. Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to thank my brothers in the Phoenix Club for this great opportunity. It's a great honor to be up here with these awesome three guys. I'd like to thank the Wabash staff and faculty for everything you do every day. You guys make this place for what it is and prove day to day how much you care for us. To our fraternity brothers up there and over here, thank you guys, especially my roommates, Ben Stone, Ryan Carrington, Nguyen, who's up here with me. To the soccer team, thank you guys for all the good times. Good luck next year. You guys got this. And finally, for my family, a mis padres, gracias por todo. A mi abuela, a mis hermanos, a mi novia y a toda mi familia, gracias por su apoyo. And they're going to watch it later. So, how does a guy from El Paso, Texas, who had never heard about Wabash, knew anyone that got to Wabash, end up at Wabash? So let's go back 4 years ago to when I was deciding where to go. I was planning to go to UT Austin, pursue my engineering degree, have a lot of fun, go with my friends. But then I get a call from some coach from some random small school in Indiana. So my senior year of high school, I thought I was done playing soccer. I moved to Houston, moved back to El Paso. I was considered a transfer, ineligible to play as a varsity sport. So I'm going to go to UT Austin, be done with soccer, get my engineering degree. But then coach calls me. And, we start talking about Wabash, and he tells me, it's middle of nowhere, Crawfordsville, Indiana. No. Liberal arts college, no engineering degree here. No. And top it off, an all-male school. Hell no. So at that point, I dismissed it completely. But my dad, he researches everything. And he told me, it looks good academically. Take the coach's offer. It's an overnight. It's a free trip to Indiana. Why not? So, and 4 years later, here I am talking at Senior Chapel Talk. It's surreal. So, the title of my talk, if you guys don't know what it means and didn't take the time to Google Translate it, Juventud, Divino, Tesoro, translate to youth, divine treasure. So, I grew up hearing this Spanish saying, and I still hear it once in a while when I'm back home. My grandma says that all the time to me. So, when me and my brother were younger, we'd always be playing around, jumping, and doing all the things kids do, and she would just say it, Juventud, Divino, Tesoro. But now she says it when it's like 9, 10 o'clock, there's a family party at my house, and then me and my brother, and usually my cousin, we go upstairs, get changed, and we're saying bye to people. And my grandma looks at me, and she's like, ¿Qué? ¿Dónde vas? What? Where are you going? And we just say, well, we're going to go out with some friends to a bar or something, I don't know. And then it comes, Juventud, Divino, Tesoro. And she goes on to tell everybody that we're leaving and why we're leaving and stuff, But now that I'm older and growing, I started to think, when is that saying not going to fit me anymore? When will my youth end? And I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows when your youth ends and the next chapter begins, especially with how unpredictable life can be. But there are some chapters in your life that you do know when they'll end. For instance, middle school, high school is 4 years, your study abroad semester, comps. And these 4 years, these 4 short, action-packed years that will end one day. If you pass comps, of course. So, last fall was my last competitive soccer season. And along with my 3 fellow seniors, Gino James, Riley Pelton, and Dane Jennings, we found ourselves repeating a phrase. Last first. Last first fitness test, last first morning practice, last first game. But of course, this went on to all of my senior year, Jesus. Last homecoming football game. First, last chapter of the year. So at this point, I realized it's my last go-around. It's my last hoorah. So enjoy every second of the soccer season. Enjoy every second if you can. And I really did. I started to really enjoy all the laughs and stupid conversations you had before practice. You know, all the warm-ups, even though I hated doing the warm-ups. And even those 4 words every athlete hates to hear at the end of a practice. Get on the line. But the semester kept going, and the last verse became lasts. Last soccer game as a little giant. Conference tournament, semifinals. We lose 2-1 against Oberlin at Oberlin. I remember the final whistle blowing, looking up and thinking to myself, that's it. It's over. I go shake hands with our team. We thank the fans. As I walk back to the bench, my fellow teammates, I do my best to fight back to tears, but nevertheless, they came, and they came hard. And we talk, we keep crying a little bit, we all change out of our cleats, and people start heading back to the locker room. And I thought for a second, I realized how big of a moment this was for me, so I walked into the field in my tennis shoes, no one was really around, coach was talking with the Oberlin coach, and I just thought, I started thinking about my last 17, 18 years that I devoted to this sport, how this sport has brought me to this precise moment at Oberlin, and I couldn't describe the feelings I had. It was nostalgic, it was satisfaction, it was anger, it was sadness, it was happiness, it was maybe even peace at that moment. But nevertheless, it was over, and the last kept coming. Last home football game, last homecoming as an undergrad, last winter break, last Panhandle, shout out Kappa Sig, last chapter, and last chapel talk as an undergrad. And now my time at Wabash is at its end. But I always knew this day would come. So I try to do as much as I can to fill this chapter with as many pages as I could. I joined a fraternity, I went out for the Sphinx Club, I took classes I never thought I'd even consider taking. I was able to expand my horizons thanks to my peers and friends that pushed me to do so. I challenged myself to get out of my comfort zone. I challenged myself to be in leadership positions, to just try new things that I'd never really thought about trying before. And now that I'm at the end of these years of growing and learning about who I really am, I can't help but look back at my 4 years here. These last 4 years have been incredible. Without a doubt, I will cherish them for the rest of my life. But it would be a lie to say that I enjoyed or loved every second here. At times, I questioned why I was so far away from home. A few times, I might have even hated this place. I couldn't wait to go back home where everything is easier and warmer. And the one question, which I'm sure some of you have had in the past couple years, comes up. Is this really all worth it? Is it? I think it is. To really grow and learn about yourself, you must challenge yourself. You must learn to push yourself and be okay with the struggle. You must appreciate the struggle. Because if you never have your mettle tested, how are you going to know who you truly are? How are you going to know how much you can take? How are you going to know how to react or what to do when the real world has you down on your knees? So now my college chapter is at its end. And I can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction, achievement, and joy. But I'm also pretty sad. Sad that I won't live and interact with my friends as much as I do now. Sad that I won't hear guys trash talking each other at lunch and dinner. Sad that I won't have those little moments anymore, which are the ones that really count. But that's life. Things end and others begin. So I implore you, all of you, enjoy your chapters. Enjoy your youth before all that divine treasure gets cashed in. Enjoy your different stages of life as it will never be back. To my fellow seniors, go on and keep grinding. Keep bettering yourselves. Keep challenging yourself as this school has challenged you, because it's giving you the tools to take those challenges, but it's giving you the tools to overcome any challenges that come into your life. And I say the same to you, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, but I leave you with a quote from The Office. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. Men, you are in the good old days. Thank you.